and welcome to the Elam Fellowship Next Gen podcast. I am your host, Kevin Neville. I'm the Next Gen Director at Elam Fellowship. And I'm excited about this episode. This is the first of the relaunch of the podcast. We're getting a new website. We're really trying to get out and get to know some of the youth pastors and kids pastors, middle school, family pastors, all through the Elam community, Friends of Elam, and introduce you to who they are, what they're doing, what exciting things they have on the calendar coming up. And we actually put a little bit of a rush on this podcast. We weren't going to launch until the fall, but we decided to launch a little bit early because our guest today is Jennifer Johnston from Celebrate Church. And she has this exciting youth conference coming up in just a few weeks. So we wanted to make sure that we started to get the word out, at least with a few weeks notice. But I want you guys to listen up, to know a little bit about Jennifer, about the amazing ministry going on there, but really about just the beginning conference, which is coming up near the end of August. So enjoy, guys. Let's dive right in. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Elam Fellowship Next Gen podcast. This is actually my guest today is going to be the first guest on this new season of Elam Fellowship. And we wanted to make sure that we got it in the right time because we got something coming up that's kind of big and awesome. So I want to introduce you to our guest today, Miss Jennifer Johnston. How you doing, Jennifer?
I'm doing good.
I got the name
me.
right?
Yes,
right,
you
okay.
did.
We had this whole conversation. Is there a T? Am I adding this T? Is there no T? So you are the youth pastor.
I'm the youth pastor here at Celebrate Family Church, and I'm also the Kidsman Director, and I just became the Kids Ministry Director this past February, so 2024. But I've been the youth pastor for about 2 to 3 years here at Celebrate, but I've been helping with youth at this church since I was a high school senior. You
were telling me a little bit of your story before you began, and I think the story began at this church at like 19 years old. Mm-hmm. So actually, let's not skip ahead. Let me ask that big question. We kind of answered who you are, mm-hmm. But what got you here, Jennifer? What got you to the seat you're sitting in right now?
Yeah, so it was actually my youth leader, my middle school best friend invited me to a Bible study after school in public school, and I attended it in 6th grade, and ever since then, I just have been, because I know how God has changed my life since middle school, and that's a huge reason why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And you blew me away when you first told me that you had a fellow 6th grader that really brought you and invited you to Bible studies. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of like every middle school pastor and leader dreams of having middle school kids do that. But you actually, had your start mm-hmm. falling in love with God. Tell us a little bit. Who was your friend? What town were you in?
I was in Perry, New York. It's actually 15 minutes away from Celebrate. Mm-hmm. My best friend, we became friends, I think, that year, and it was during Spanish class that she was telling me about this Bible study club, and I ended up attending one day after school, and I just kept continuing to go after school, and then my youth leader at the time held a youth group out of her own house, and so I think it was once a month we would go and have youth group at her house.
Oh, wow. And so you really developed not only community mm-hmm. with other believers, but fell in love with Jesus yourself.
Yes.
Oh, and then shortly after, you started getting connected with Celebrate. How did that happen?
So I actually went to Celebrate when it was on Main Street in Mount Morris, but then we ended up, my mom took my brother and I to Catholic church, so I got confirmed into the Catholic church before coming back to Celebrate, and that was in about 9th grade when I came back, and we came for a Sunday to visit, and Hannah Shoemaker, but Hannah Scott at the time, invited me to come to youth group, and I would come every week.
Little did you know that she was going to be...
little did I know that she was going to be
right here. I guess her dad was the pastor. So
but now she's married to the lead pastor now. Yeah, I didn't know that was going to be the plan.
Who did?
Nobody, except the Lord.
So that's awesome. So really, you've been a core of what's been going on. And so you're almost like you're sort of the dream of the middle school pastor, and you're also sort of the dream of a lead pastor to be able to say there's somebody that came up, but then stayed on to do ministry. So,
yeah, I mean, that wasn't the plan originally. I wasn't gonna stay.
What was the plan originally?
I would help in youth group, but then like when I came on staff, I told Pastor Eric and Debbie I was only gonna be here for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then like I just feel
I'll always tell God that. Say, God, this is the plan.
Yeah, this is
what's
my
gonna
plan.
happen. Just don't be surprised when I move on. Right?
Yep. And then I've felt the need to just stay, and I know that this is the season to stay in, and just wait until he says otherwise.
Right. So what brought you from being in the youth group to leading the youth group? Because I imagine that didn't happen overnight.
No, it did not happen overnight. It kind of started when in 2017, 2018, when I had a part-time job. Pastor Tim Fust was the youth pastor as well as the associate pastor here. And he would be working, and on a Thursday night, if he needed me to come and like lead the youth group, I would come and give a message. So it was like a couple times a year I would give like a message to fill in for him. And then after I stopped that other part-time job, I ended up serving, kind of like coming alongside him and just helping him with the youth ministry, because I would see like, oh my goodness, Pastor Tim has all these things on his plate. Like, how can I help? So I would plan the games for the youth group, so that way he didn't have to, because he led worship, and then he had to plan the games and do the message, and so it was one thing to take off of his plate.
So even from the early days, it was a leadership position of saying, how do I serve? How do I get in there and be part of the solution instead of just complaining about it?
Yeah.
That's beautiful right there. And so what happened next?
And then eventually Pastor Tim got a church to pastor, and then Pastor Eric and Debbie asked me to step up to be the youth pastor, and I gladly did, because I was helping serve in the youth as like a leader. But
there was no school or anything before that?
Oh, yeah, I went to Elam for 2 years.
Elam? I'm not sure I heard of it. No, I'm joking. Obviously, Elam Bible Institute in college now.
Yep.
Was it actually Elam Bible Institute in college when you went to it?
I think it transitioned the year after my first. So in the middle of me.
And you were saying
2015 to 2017. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I got my associate's degree, and then I wasn't too involved in ministry. I was more of a volunteer, and then
Did you know you were going to come back here when you were at school, or what actually brought you to Elam?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Well, yes and no. I just knew that I was called to ministry. I kind of felt like I was going to go into like missions, but I didn't end up going onto the mission field except for like missions trips.
That is my
still missions
story in a nutshell.
But I just had a heart to know the Lord, and I just knew that I wanted to know His Word and tell people about Him and share the Word of God with others. So that's why I went to Elam.
Good. And then you came back here, and that's where the story continued.
Yep.
Cool. So how long have you been on staff at
since 2020, I believe, during COVID.
Oh, God,
during 2019.
They hired you during
well,
That's some vision. You got to have vision to hire instead of let people go during that
we
season.
added a bunch of staff during COVID. So, 2019, I interned, but that was right before COVID hit. And then during COVID, I was still interning. And then he hired me on as the admin. And I'm very bad at admin, but that was my job.
So it was like an excuse to get you here. But
but I don't think he thought that was going to be an excuse. That was my job, but I was bad at it.
Oh, no. Well, it's a good thing you didn't stay in it.
I have some admin tasks, but
Oh, God, she's like shaking her head. Slowly. No. Yes.
No.
Well, okay, so it's almost 4 years you just kind of just been adding. Sounds like you've been adding hats. It's like a new hat given to you every year. Because I think one time when I started to get to know Hannah a little bit, she was doing, was she doing youth or kids ministry, and then I met you, and you were doing, and I had a hard time keeping track of who was doing what.
Yeah,
so I got a feeling you guys were figuring that out too.
Yep. Just a lot of like, hey, what are you good at? What are you passionate about? Where are we in this season? And so, yeah.
And then in the middle of that, just last summer, you guys went through the succession where Andrew, became lead pastor.
Yeah.
And I know that was
that was a big
a
and
long
wild
process
thing.
coming too.
Yeah.
So. Wow, so it's been an adventurous few years.
Oh, yes.
Speaking of that, tell us a little bit about Celebrate Family Church and what you guys do as a church and what kind of things you have on your radar.
Yeah, so we always say Celebrate Family Church is all about family. We love having kids come. God put the wiggle in the kids, so we don't mind kids that are wiggling, screaming, running around. Like, just bring them all. Bring your kids. Yeah. We do a lot of.
Well, where are you guys located? Just for those.
We're located in Leicester, New York, and it's about probably 10 minutes from Letchworth State Park in the Mount Morris entrance.
Awesome. I'm sorry, I interrupted. You were saying
you're good.
Some of the other things.
Oh yes, we have a lot of different like outreaches that our church is a part of, such as like a Thanksgiving to go meal, which that's a big thing for us to put on.
Yeah. How does it look? Like, what does it look like?
It looks like about 2 months before it happens, we kind of like just ask a bunch of people to volunteer. We ask stores to donate turkeys and all like gift cards to provide supplies for different people in our church to cook and make, and then it all gets brought back to the church.
So pre-cooked, ready to go meals.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. And we've done probably the past couple of years about 400 to 500 meals that we get.
And do you make them to go? Do you serve them here? Or?
Yep, we put them in to-go containers and have different people drive them to different areas around us.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's a big ordeal, but it's a lot of fun, kind of chaotic, but it's amazing to see like the people that are blessed through it.
And is that on Thanksgiving Day?
It's on Thanksgiving Day.
So you guys, Thanksgiving is a whole different thing for you guys.
Yeah, we start about like 8 a.m. Having people bring in the food and then start just getting it all out. And hopefully, I can't remember what time we usually get done, but about like noon or 1 o'clock, I think is when we get done.
Okay.
So not
so
terrible.
Then you could
so
go
we still
home
got,
and have, I would say you could have Thanksgiving dinner yourself. But you probably just take a nap.
Yeah, that too. Nap before other food. Yeah.
So what else do you guys
we hold a harvest party. Again, we want kids in the community to come and be a part. It's free. We've had hay rides. There's usually games out back.
And
just
you
a
guys,
lot of fun stuff.
Jennifer showed me the property. I've been here. I was here a number of years ago, and just amazed at the creativity there. But I didn't sort of realize how big and beautiful the property is. You guys have sort of an outdoor.
Yep.
Not a gazebo.
It's like a pavilion.
Pavilion.
Yeah.
And so and it's sort of right in the middle of the towns in this area. So I think it's ideally sort of suited to be a family church.
Yep.
So, that's amazing.
Yeah, and we also hold, Hannah, Andrew, and I, so the Shoemakers and myself have been a part of Camp Judah for a ton of years.
And it's really kind of going through some leadership changes, too, that Andrew's really
stepped up to be the lead director there, and Hannah has served in the past as an assistant director, and I have served as an assistant director as well.
Didn't they meet there?
Where?
At Camp Judah.
Oh, yeah,
I know that's part of the story, too.
Yo,
I'm going to have them on the podcast again.
Yes.
We had, they're like the busiest couple in the world, and they're always doing something. But eventually I'm going to pin them down, and we'll get them on the show, and we'll hear a bit more of that story. But I know Camp Judah really plays into that whole story.
Yeah,
so.
I served there for my first year as a junior camp counselor, the week before I went to Elam.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild.
I told them that there, I made a trip out to Camp Judah and Camp Shiloh, which are two
Oh, cool. I didn't know you
big
did.
Elam camps, and the stories there, you just know. So
Mm-hmm.
one of my things in the future is I'm going to track down those stories. We're going
Mm.
to tell the story of Camp Judah, Camp Shiloh, and some of the other things God did. I wish that's my heart.
That's awesome.
So, well, okay. So, but there's amongst all the other things, Jennifer, there's a reason why you're the first guest on
Yes.
on this new Elam Fellowship podcast, and the reason that we're actually, I wasn't planning on releasing this to the fall, but we've moved our time scale up because we wanted everybody to know about what you have coming up.
Yeah,
In less than a
appreciate
month
you doing
now.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
it is
pleasure.
less. It is less than a month.
Which your eyes got big when I said that.
Yeah.
She knows that. So
I
tell us
know.
a little bit about what's coming in just a few weeks.
So, Celebrate Family Church is holding a youth conference, a one-day youth conference called Just the Beginning. Last year was our first year doing it, and before we launched it, the Lord just was giving me the vision just to hold a conference for teenagers to come to and just kind of like be inspired and just become on fire for the Lord through being with other youth groups and hearing amazing words and being in amazing worship. So, yeah.
Sort of this environment of just being surrounded by what God's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, let's get the facts first, and then we can
Yes.
get into a little bit of the story of it.
Yes.
But so when is the date of this?
So Just the Beginning is going to be held on August 24th from 1 to 7 p.m.
So that's a Saturday, August
It's a Saturday,
24th.
yep.
So by the time they're hearing this, is only a few weeks. Mm-hmm. And is there still room? Is there
Yes.
still?
Yep. So you can come even the day of. You just won't get a T-shirt. So,
So is there? What's the
The
there an
cutoff-
admission price?
so the admission without a T-shirt is $10. With a T-shirt is $20, but the cutoff date is August 9th, so Friday.
Okay. So if you're hearing this, you only have a few days in order to get the T-shirt.
Yeah. Yep.
But otherwise, you can still come.
Yep.
At half price, and that's
Yeah.
a great price.
And
that is
there's going to
designed for
be
everybody to get in.
food
Yeah.
too. So like food will be provided and snacks. So like that's why we have to have it cost
T-shirt,
a little bit
food,
of money. Yeah.
snacks.
Yeah.
So who's some of the speakers?
So our key speaker is going to be Rob Taylor from Faith Church. He came last year and spoke. He also was at Camp Judah and spoke and gave an amazing word at both places
Yeah.
those two times. And so we're so excited to have him back. And then Bethany Hudnall will be our second speaker. And she's an amazing woman. She's on fire for the Lord and excited for like what God's doing with this generation. And her husband's going to be on the panel, and we're going to have a panel time where we're asking about a whole lot of different questions that teenagers might be interested in or like just need some wisdom and advice on.
Right, things
So-
that they might not be able to ask other places or don't get the
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Yeah, I know Bethany and her husband. We were just talking before this. Like God's really using them. They're like everywhere. So
Yep.
you've got to. So how will the day kind of look?
So when they get here, they'll kind of chill until 1 p.m. Doors will open at 12:30, so half an hour before.
Right.
So it'll be a time to get registered, get signed in, and then make your way down to the sanctuary. And then we'll have games to start off, and then worship, and then Bethany will be speaking, and then it'll be a break, and then we'll have some more times for games and food and so on and so forth.
Okay. And when will it go till?
It'll go till 7 p.m.
So from 12:30 doors open to 7 p.m.
It might go a little over. We're open to what the Lord wants to do.
It's like the Holy
But-
Spirit. If the Holy Spirit moves, you gotta look at your watch and say, "Holy Spirit." we got, and the Holy Spirit's like, "I don't care what you're talking."
Yeah, I don't run on your timetable.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, plan for it, because everything that God has been doing in all these things, the Holy Spirit. I firmly believe that it's in the margins and the stuff we don't plan for that God
Moves
moves and does his best thing, and then we're just Lord, do your thing.
Yeah.
So, and I know that's on your
Sometimes,
heart.
yeah, we got to get out of our own ways and our
Right.
own timetables.
So tell me about the name. So this is the second year of it. How did you guys come up with the name?
So my co-leader and I for youth, we're just brainstorming, and we came up with this name, but also because there's a verse in the Bible, it's in John, and it talks about like, even greater things will you do than these. And Jesus was talking to his disciples. So that was our verse last year. And we just believe that God is going to do even greater things with this next generation, with the generation coming up. And so like, we want to see healings and deliverances and just like all like crazy miraculous things happening. And we believe like the next generation is going to be a huge part of it. And so that's why this conference is named Just the Beginning, because it's just the beginning of amazing things.
So I could tell some of your heart here is it's not just about them coming and sitting and listening to a message. It's about getting engaged and involved and letting the Spirit move in the gifts.
Yeah, yeah.
So how did it work? Like, how did you see it last year? Last year was your first one.
Yeah, it was great, but I learned a whole lot of things of how I want to change, like just how things transition and move. And so last year was a lot of learning, but God really moved. And I was like, I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised because it was my first time like helping put this on. Like, I didn't know what to expect. You know, when you do something for the first time ever, you don't really know how it's going to work out.
I love that experience where you as a leader see everything. Yeah. Hey, I can improve. This needs improve. Oh man, this one. But then when you see the Spirit, you know, and God move, almost despite us.
Yeah.
You know, you say, well, that's his grace and that's his faithfulness. But then this is year 2, you know, and so that's beautiful that you're on this process of that. Though, if you're hearing this, what's the best way to sign up and get tickets?
Yes. You can sign up through going on to our website, which is icelebrate.org. And
so that is the letter I.
The letter I, celebrate.org. And then if you want to like go directly to like the page without having to scroll and click the button, you can go to icelebrate.org/JTBC.
Okay. And a youth pastor could they pay online or do they pay here? Or?
Yep. They preferably online, but if you shoot me an email at jennifer@icelebrate.org.
Can individuals come themselves, just get it?
Yes. So it's for ages 12 to 18.
Okay.
And they can sign up through our website at icelebrate.org/JTBC. And then if they want to pay like in cash at the door, they can just shoot me an email at jennifer@icelebrate.org to let me know the name.
And make arrangements.
Yeah.
Okay. And then a youth pastor could do the same. They could buy tickets.
Yep.
For the whole youth group. And if they have any questions, I guess
they can shoot me an email.
Jennifer@icelebrate, the letter I, celebrate.org. Awesome. I'm going to be there myself.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm going to be having a lot of my friends that are planning on coming. And this is going to be great. This is going to be awesome. Jennifer, one of the things, it's funny, I'm going to brag a little bit about, you know, what God is kind of doing in some of our community, you know, and as part of the Elam Fellowship Next Gen, you know, we've really kind of began the process of God connecting us. You know, we have our sort of word that we're connected to, but we want to really reach out to some of the rest of Elam and friends of Elam. And that's one of the reasons for this podcast, is that everybody could really kind of get to know you a little bit and what you guys are doing at Celebrate. But one thing that God has just been really faithful for is he's doing a lot of these introductions. And I know we did a youth leaders retreat in January. And
that was a while ago.
I think that was the first time I met you, was it? Or
No, it was at Pastor Phil McNeil's church.
Oh, when we did the meetup. That's right. We were talking about that meetup. Oh, so you were there like on the early days.
When you first.
Thank you for coming. That's when I didn't have any idea I still don't know what I've gotten myself into. But I always appreciate you guys coming because I didn't think anybody was going to come. So you came.
I did come.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
But obviously, you know, I had to re-meet you at the Leaders Conference. And then it was funny because I even got, you know, I know you were at Camp Judah and I got an email from another youth pastor as we're trying to get like, you got to meet this Jennifer girl. And you got to meet this one girl. He didn't even say your name. And I was just, for some reason I knew, and I said, is her name Jennifer? And he goes, yes, how did you know? I just had a gut feeling. And yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely was a connection, you know, that the God setting up But I have one question that I'm going to ask, because these podcasts aren't really about the topic we're talking about. It's about getting to know each other. But I've always found there's always one topic that a youth pastor or kids pastor or middle school pastor is just near and dear to their hearts. If I was to ask you, what is that in this season? What is God really speaking to you as a leader in this season? What would your answer be?
I would say, what is God? For me as a leader, personally, it would be to humble myself.
What do you mean by that? That's
I would say probably because I've been in the book of Daniel.
Yeah.
And just like coming before him even more, just for the things that I know like he wants to do and how he wants to use me, but not get a big head about it. In the sense of, oh, like I'm the youth pastor, I can do all these things on my own, because I cannot. I need the Lord, and I need to be reminded that I need to talk to God through every step of the way. So I guess for me, like being humble and coming before the Lord about
and
every
that's
little
beautiful
thing.
Because I find you're a young leader. God's giving you more and more responsibility. You're being connected more and more. There's going to be a temptation to hey, look at me, look at what I can bring to the table, look at. And I think that's one of the things we're losing a lot in leadership of the church, that as we grow in authority and opportunity, then and then that's where we really lose our connection.
Yeah,
So
and I don't want to ever get to that place.
That's beautiful. And as for the kids, what would be, as a youth pastor with the kids, you had mentioned discipleship was one of your key things.
Yeah, so like
Tell us a little
even
bit.
like for years, it's been like, I want to teach and train these kids how to love Jesus. I want my love for God to just be so evident that they become hungry for God. Because like that's kind of what my youth leader did. Like she loved God and she focused on God and loved me through it. And that's why I'm so passionate about Jesus, and why I want to share Jesus with the next generation, is because of her love for him, and just her like showing me how to like read the Bible, or encouraging me, or praying for me when I needed it. And so practically, when I feel like a word of encouragement, or I read a good devotional or find a good sermon, I will usually text either individual teens that I'm connected with, have their numbers, and what I feel like the Lord is saying to like encourage them with, I'll shoot them a text with that. And I used to also have like a girls chat where I would just be like, yo, this is what the Lord is like encouraging me with. I just wanted to text this to you today. I haven't done that recently, but I want to get back to doing that. So yeah,
That's
just
beautiful.
like,
and that's sort of interesting, the whole concept of discipleship. We throw, it's a word we throw around a lot, but what would that actually, I mean, and you shared a little bit about what that would mean to you, but what else would that mean to you in a practical way, looking at your youth group?
I would like to go through the Bible and like just study books with them, specifically my older teenagers, because I feel like they'll be able to like sit and grasp more than my younger teens, who don't have a really large attention span. But definitely.
Middle schoolers don't have a large attention span?
Yeah, scroll. But yeah,
News
like
to
I want
me.
to study the word with them. I want to like have conversations with them. I don't want to just preach at them or like give them a message for what they might be going through. I want to have just conversations with them with what they're going through, how we can like just apply the Bible to their lives, because like the Bible has answers and the Bible is wild and crazy, and there's some things in it that you wouldn't expect is in it that, hello, teenagers, like this is good stuff to read. Like it has application for your lives and what you might be going through. So yeah, I just want to like do that with my teens, study the word and
Really
help
dive
them.
in. And it sounds like, I'm sorry, my words are getting caught up. Discipleship is a lot like relationship.
Yes.
That sounds like it's like a time thing. You can't really cheat. It's not just giving a message. And I love the fact that your story is just that. about people that discipled you along the way.
Yeah.
So, and that was something you want to turn around and reflect. Because I've always said, as much time as we put into our sermons, and as much work and study and you practice and you want to get it right, they don't remember the sermons.
No, but they remember you walking alongside them. Yeah. Yep.
They remember the experiences they had, maybe even the conversations after the sermon.
Yeah.
But, and same could be said on a Sunday morning, as much time and effort, and we need to.
Yes.
But there needs to be more than that, too.
Yeah.
There needs to be the walking through. So how have you found that over the years with your youth group? How has it sort of changed in different dynamics?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would say like recently for my older teens who don't like attend because of work or sports, I try to meet with my girls like during the week whenever they're available for like lunch to catch up and just see what they're going through and hang out, or like we'll go grab coffee and just talk. Like that's kind of what it is. It's just like, hey, let's go get some food, or hey, let's go do something and talk about life and where are you at? What are you doing? How can I pray for you? Like I've had teenagers like just shoot me messages, hey, like I'm going to an appointment, can you please pray for such and such, which I had been praying and then and then they gave me an update right after, like about like after I had like written down the prayer to them and how everything is going amazing and everything is better. And then other kids will ask me, hey, like, do you know about like relationship advice in the Bible and where I could find it? And I'm like, there's no real like relationship advice, but there's character.
Wait, does John not talk a little bit about how we wake up with a boyfriend? Or I'm trying to remember that.
But no, like I just encourage them, like, hey, like in the Bible, it has application for like what a godly man looks like or what a godly woman looks like. And here, like, I want you to like write down as you read, like what kind of person you want to become through what you read.
That's beautiful.
So yeah,
you're
just
taking scripture, but you're showing them how it applies to their life.
Yep. And then I gave them the book of Ruth and Esther to look at first. So yeah, it's just been really cool. Like lately, God's just been like having my teens text me and ask questions about different things. And so it's just been cool to be like, all right, they do care and they do want to read the word. And
they are listening.
Yeah. Right? Sometimes their blank stares get me and I'm just like, are you retaining anything that I'm saying?
We did camp and I decided to, I was going to it was one of my last messages at this church that I was working at. And I thought, I'm going to put myself on this night because, I've got a big message. It's going to be, and I realized at camp, that's like the night everybody's trying to stay awake because everybody's exhausted. No. And I had this big message and everybody was falling asleep. And I was just like, well, that was a waste of time. But then afterwards, some came up to me and talked about it and said, I was like, you actually heard that? And said, so sometimes
the Lord does work even, yeah.
And that's humbling.
It is humbling.
You got to realize that his message is bigger. So. But even in the conference, just the beginning, and forgive me, I've been calling it only the beginning, but it's the same sort of thing. Just the beginning is, the messages I imagine I'm looking for, they're going to be amazing, but you're saying your heart is you want to see what the Spirit is going to do through that, through the experiences.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I'm very excited to hear some of this. Jennifer, any other final thoughts on discipleship or...
I would just encourage you as youth pastors to just continue relationship with your teens, text them, check in with them, because that's how you're going to stay in communication and how I feel like they're going to respond better to you because they see like you want a relationship with them. It's not just, oh, let me preach to you on whatever night we have youth group, but it's maintaining that relationship with them.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Just it kind of goes in the face of a lot of what we say is, you're a successful youth pastor when you got a whole bunch of kids that coming out, when you got a large environment, when you speak at a lot of conferences. But in the end, it's, what impacts are you making in individual lives and relationships?
Yep.
And, even a youth pastor that just has a few kids.
Yeah.
You could say, well, that's where you begin the real impact.
That's right.
So
Yep.
that's beautiful. And you know what? One of the things that we're doing here and beginning this conversation is because we need that too. You know, we, of course, with our lead pastors and the community of the church we're in our neighborhood, but through Elam too. You know, and we're looking to do more and more of that. You know, how can we help each other's discipleship through this? Because, man, nobody understands like another youth pastor.
That's right. Yeah, you got some wild stories. I got some wild stories that I never would have.
You pick a topic like, well, that kid that you come home from an event and they haven't even called their parents yet. Oh, I've got a story about that. I think we could relate to that. So, but God's doing that. You know,
Yes.
He's doing that across the board, which shows you how faithful He is.
Yeah.
All right, Jennifer, thank you so much for being on this first reboot of the Next Gen podcast. Once again, can you give us the contact information for both, you know, if somebody wants to continue the conversation, if somebody wants to check out Celebrate Family Church, if somebody is in the area and wants to check out the youth group, the kids ministry, it's an amazing church. It's just, we're recording not live, but we're recording right here.
Yep.
Well, I'm alive and you're alive. So
We are recording at Celebrate Family Church right now.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit again how they could contact you, check out the church, check out the sign up for the Just the Beginning conference. Give us all that information again.
Yep. You can sign up for the conference at icelebrate.org/JTBC. And if you have questions or even just want to talk about youth ministry, you can contact me through jennifer@icelebrate.org or follow me on Instagram or Facebook friend me, and
How did
we'll
they
go
follow?
from there.
Do you remember on Instagram what your?
Oh, yeah, my name on Instagram is JJ the Jesus Freak.
JJ the Jesus Freak. We're not leaving here without hearing the story of how you got J. Well, JJ makes sense.
Yes.
The
Yeah, my
Jesus
first
Freak.
my first and last name start with J. But they're so I think it was from a Toby Mac song, but it wasn't like why.
It's from Jesus Freak.
Yes.
Of course.
Or DC Talk or something
DC
like
Talk,
that. But
that's
I
right.
didn't even know them. I just got like a hand-me-down t-shirt that just said Jesus Freak, and it was like lime green, and green's my favorite color, and so that's why I had
You
the
didn't
name.
even know them. You're talking to somebody that was there
Sorry.
the day that they started and was
Sorry.
older than them at the time. I think it was, maybe. I don't know.
So yeah, yep, that's why.
JJ the Jesus Freak
Yes, JJ the Jesus Freak.
on Instagram. All right, Jennifer, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun, and we'll have you back soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
And we'll see everybody at Just the Beginning, which tell us the dates again.
It's August 24th, happening from 1 to 7 p.m. here at Celebrate Family Church, which is 74 Mount Morris Road in Leicester, New York. And it's for ages 12 to 18.
And we're talking in 2024 if you're listening to this down the road, but we'll probably do it again next year. So whatever year you're on, just check out the church website.
Yes.
And we'll see you there.
See you there.
Thanks, Jennifer. All right, that was our guest, Jennifer Johnston, and I hope if you hear this in time that I will see you at Just the Beginning conference. It is going to be exciting. If you hearing it too late, don't worry, it will come again next year. We have a lot of exciting things between now and then. We're going to meet a lot of kids pastors, youth pastors, middle school, family pastors throughout the Elam Fellowship community and friends of Elam. So make sure you listen. We're going to do this podcast every 2 weeks, and it's going to be an exciting time. So God bless you guys. We'll see you on the next episode of Elam Fellowship's Next Gen Podcast. God bless.